Who would like to read chapter 4?
I'll do it if I could find it here. Of Proverbs, right?
Proverbs, right? Yep.
Proverbs. Okay. Here. Listen, children, to a father's instruction and be attentive, that you may gain insight. For I give you good precepts. Do not forsake my teaching. When I was a son with my father, tender, and my mother's favorite, he taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast my words. Keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever else you get insight. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a fair garland. She will bestow on you a beautiful crown. Hear, my child, and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the paths of uprightness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of instruction. Do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what they stumble over. My child, be attentive to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them escape from your sight. Keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them, and healing to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Keep straight the path of your feet, and all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. The word of the Lord.
Well, some of that sounded familiar. Did we read 4 last week?
Linda said the same thing, but that's where I had us marked to start.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
I just remember the part where it says, get wisdom.
yeah, because that was
Yeah.
funny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
Said it several times, I think.
yeah, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it's so familiar because, you know, on our Sunday morning formation time, we're in the wisdom of Sirach and the Apocrypha, and Jim is on that with me. And it's just mirroring exactly what we're reading in Proverbs right now.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. And so some of it could be, it sounds familiar because of that. But the other thing go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, I remember that part because that's where we brought up the Rashi saying that it's doing things like this.
Yeah.
Where we're having the conversation, and that's how you get wisdom.
So I guess we did read it, but it didn't hurt to read it again. One of the things, though, that's interesting when you comparatively to Sirach is that it's a lot of talk about father, 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 father. father, teach your children, learn from your father. And then Sirach even goes into the whole point of women on a whole nother level. But but it's interesting. It's in here. It's very much honor your mother, listen to your father kind of talk, at least so far.
We were at a Catholic funeral this morning, and one of the lessons was from the Sirach, and it was all about the father, who the Monsignor described. Well, actually, the quote I think came from one of his daughters-in-law, a neighbor man of ours, that he was a benevolent curmudgeon.
The deceased was.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we get Kyle bringing up Rashi, the whole bit about the path, and we talked about that, and here it's very much deliberately, do not get on that path. You want to be on this path. Yeah, and it says, there's a note here, the father's instruction continues with the image of two alternate paths, that of wisdom and righteousness and that of the wicked, which is a common image in this whole book. All right, pretty straightforward. Let's go on to 5, if that's all right.
All right.
Anyone? All right.
My child, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding, so that you may hold on to prudence, and your lips may guard knowledge. For the lips of a loose woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path to Sheol. She does not keep straight to the path of life. Her ways wander, and she does not know it. And now, my child, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, or you will give your honor to others, and your years to the merciless. And strangers will take their fill of your wealth, and your labors will go to the house of an alien. And at the end of your life, you will groan when your flesh and body are consumed. And you say, oh, how I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers, or incline my ear to my instructors. Now I am at the point of utter ruin in the public assembly. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone, and not for sharing with strangers. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth. A lovely deer, a graceful doe. May her breast satisfy you at all times. May you be intoxicated always by her love. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, by another woman and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? For human ways are under the eyes of the Lord, and he examines all their paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare them, and they are caught in the toils of their sin. They die for lack of discipline, and because of their great folly, they are lost. Woo.
Saucy.
Yeah.
And that covers kind of the same ground we did with Sirach on Sunday.
Yeah, so Sirach was going there too, the loose woman, but we already encountered the loose woman once in Proverbs, or the strange woman, as it could also be interpreted, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
But it's interesting with all the exhortation to treat others with kindness and do this and do that, that it says, drink from your own cistern and don't share it with anybody.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And let's see what that is, probably a metaphor for something else.
For the wife?
So it says water is a euphemism for sexual activity. So your own cistern as well, and well, refer to your wife as the source of that water. Springs refer to male sexual activity, which is wasted in this context, with water in the streets possibly indicating offspring outside marriage. Exhortation to rejoice in sexual intimacy with one's own wife. Fountain refers to her sexual organs, in case you were wondering about that. Seen as the property of her husband and possibly to the offspring that will ensue. So there are some comparisons here to the Song of Solomon, which we all know has very much that imagery of deers and very sexual. So I have a question though. So explain the line to me. Let's see, where was it? On 18, let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth.
Yes.
So I guess that's just saying the one you were joined to as a young man, stay with that one. But it makes it interesting that the wife of your youth makes it sound like, well, that was the wife of your youth. Now that you have the wife of your old age, so what does that mean? But I guess it's just saying your first wife. Beth's mother used to enjoy saying, introducing her husband as Beth's father as her first husband. He's her only husband. I mean, he was her first husband. She never had a second, but she always got a kick out of that.
So Rashi says something different. So the drink the water from your own cistern, he says, is the Torah of Moses. So it'd be the Pentateuch. Which then says, let your springs, 16, what does it say? Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets, is actually referring to students who will then go on to teach other people. And through that, you will be well known. And then he says of, let them be for yourself alone and not for sharing with strangers, is actually saying that by teaching others, you alone will be praised by them and no one else will be able to share the honor with you.
So he avoids the sexual euphemism altogether.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And then going back to the wife of your youth is the Torah that you learned when you were young.
So wife in this case is instruction, is learning the law.
Yes.
I mean, I can see that point of view if you connect it to that. I don't know. Seems a lot more interesting this way.
Well, and then I've actually got several different things pulled up here, and something else refers exactly to what you were saying with the sexual
Euphemism.
stuff. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. With the sexual euphemisms. Which the wife of your youth, it says your wife will be blessed and adored in your eyes, and you will be happy with the love of the wife your youth. I don't know what that means. So yeah,
Well,
I guess it could go either way depending on how you interpret what the well of water is.
right, right. The wife of your youth, unless you're Jacob, and then you get 4 wives of your youth.
Yeah.
So even in Sirach, I mean, it's the same sense in that you are to be loyal and faithful to the same person, whether you want to read that as the wife, as in you're actually the woman you're married to, or in the sense of the law of God. I mean, I think it does work on both levels. All right. Well, thank you for that. How about 6? Who'd like to take 6?
Or maybe it's supposed to be both,
Yeah,
allegorically
sure.
and literally.
And of course, it can be both, can it? I mean, a lot of the Bible is both.
So we're reading 6. I'll be more than happy to do that.
Okay, have at it.
My child, if you have given your pledge to your neighbor, if you have bound yourself to another, you are snared by the utterance of your lips, caught by the words of your mouth. So do this, my child, and save yourself, for you have come into your neighbor's power. Go, hurry, and plead with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep, and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, you lazy bones. Consider its ways and be wise. Without having any chief or officer or ruler, it prepares its food in summer and gathers its sustenance in harvest. How long will you lie there, O lazy bones? When will you rise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed warrior. A scoundrel and a villain goes around with crooked speech, winking the eyes, shuffling the feet, pointing the fingers, with perverted mind devising evil, continually sowing discord. On such a one calamity will descend suddenly, in a moment, damage beyond repair. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty lies, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. A heart that deceives, wicked plans, feet that hurry to run to evil, a lying witness who testifies falsely, and one who sows discord in a family. My child, keep your father's commandment, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them upon your heart always, tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. And when you awake, they will talk with you. For the commandment is a lamp, the teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life. To preserve you from the wife of another, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For a prostitute's fee is only a loaf of bread, but the wife of another stalks a man's very life. Can fire be carried in the bosom without burning one's clothes? Or can one walk on hot coals without scorching the feet? So is he who sleeps with his neighbor's wife. No one who touches her will go unpunished. Thieves are not despised who steal only to satisfy their appetite when they are hungry. Yet if they are caught, they will pay 7-fold. They will forfeit all the goods of their house. But he who commits adultery has no sense. He who does it destroys himself. He will get wounds and dishonor, and his disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy arouses a husband's fury, and he shows no restraint when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation and refuses a bribe, no matter how great.
Thank you. So this sounds a lot. I mean, it's starting to be somewhat repetitive to some of the earlier chapters we've had. Practical admonitions. This is, I have a note that says this is what these are called, and then goes into the dangers of adultery, which it's already kind of talked about a little bit. says laziness is a frequent topic in Proverbs. I need to print this out and frame it and hang it in my children's rooms. How long will you lie there, O lazy bones? When will you rise from your sleep?
You're going to read this to me in the morning.
Yeah. I'll text it to you at 6 a.m.
Oh, no.
I had no idea that lazy bones was in the Bible. I kind of remember my mother saying it. And I thought it was just an old-fashioned word or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember my grandmother saying it.
Lazy bones. My parents would call me lazy bones all the time when I was a kid.
There's a song, Lazy Bones, sleeping in the hay.
Yeah.
How are you going to get the day's work? No, sleeping in the sun. How are you going to get the day's work done?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
They're too young.
You're all too young. Yeah.
Bill might remember.
Our version uses the term sluggard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ah.
really? Huh.
So I've got to note that verse 1 through 3 warns of the danger in debt. Proverbs warns against giving your pledge for a neighbor, something like co-signing a loan for a friend who doesn't otherwise qualify. Supports generosity, but not open-ended charity.
No, it does. Sure.
That comes from the study Bible, the New Student Bible.
Unmuted.
Which we found amongst our son's medical books. It's kind of funny.
So interesting in here that starting at 12, a scoundrel and a villain goes around with crooked speech, winking the eyes, shuffling the feet, pointing the fingers. There's a note here. Winking the eyes, shuffling the feet, and pointing the fingers are forms of body language that indicate character. Crooked speech indicates deceitful talk. So it made me think of a song. If any of you are familiar with a band, it was big, it was popular in the 90s called the Crash Test Dummies.
Mm.
Who know that band? So they had a song called God Shuffled His Feet.
Oh.
It was all about God gathering people around for a picnic, and they're asking God questions, and God never won't give them a direct answer, just shuffles his feet. So it makes me think, well, so God is specifically being deceitful in that sense because God doesn't want to answer them. I need to go back and listen to the song again. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you listen to the song, but I'm guessing that's where they got the term. It's a term we all use, you know. We know what shuffling the feet means, but still, it's kind of funny to hear it straight out here and apply it to God. All right, any other thoughts on this chapter?
There's a lot in there. Now you now know to beware of eyelashes.
Yeah. And that's the big thing now. You better look out.
Well, it just makes you wonder, or makes me wonder, and I'd have to go back and look at the intro again, but they come back to the adultery thing a lot.
Yeah.
And it will continue here. And I know, and we've talked about this already in the lead up to all this, that we have the wisdom as a woman being this one you desire and you want, and then the loose woman being the one you don't want. So there is that same two paths there. And so I know that's kind of the point, but it seems like they're kind of beating the point to death. It's like, we get it.
Yeah.
And was there when this was written, was there some sort of an epidemic of adultery that they felt they had to say it as much as they did?
Has anything really changed?
Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, that's always a thing, but well, and here it's it's always the man sleeping with the neighbor's wife, and it's never the woman sleeping with the neighbor's husband. So I guess today's world, it definitely goes both ways. But here they're not laying it out that way. So
And again, oh, sorry, I was just going to say, and again, we have that same dualistic of whether the adulterer is referring to someone who's trying to pull you away from God versus an actual adult.
right,
Yeah.
sure, because the temptation in itself is a pulling away from God in whatever form that takes, right?
Exactly.
So if you felt like Proverbs has not addressed adultery in the loose woman enough, then read chapter 7.
I'll read it.
All right.
Okay. My son, keep my words and treasure up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend. To preserve you from the loose woman, from the adventurous with her smooth words. For at the window of my house I have looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths a young man without sense, passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house in the twilight in the evening, at the time of night and darkness. And lo, a woman meets him, dressed as a harlot, wily of heart. She is loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. She seizes him and kisses him. And with impudent face, she says to him, I had to offer sacrifices, and today I have paid my vows. So now I have come out to meet you, to seek you eagerly, and I have found you. I've decked my couch with coverings, colored spreads of Egyptian linen. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love till morning. Let us delight ourselves with love. For my husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took a bag of money with him. At full moon, he will come home. With such seductive speech, she persuades him. With her smooth talk, she compels him. All at once, he follows her, as an ox to the slaughter, or as a stag is caught fast, till an arrow pierces its entrails, as a bird rushes into a snare. He does not know that it will cost him his life. And now, O sons, listen to me, and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let not your hearts turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths. For many a victim has she laid low. Yea, all her slain are mighty host. Her house is the way to Sheol, going down to the chambers of death. Wow.
I don't think her house is the chamber of death, but when he gets home, that will be the chamber of
This is getting to be, I don't know, PG-13 or R-rated.
kind of like a really good Harlequin novel.
What's interesting here, though, is that the man who goes out to meet the prostitute. It doesn't say anything other than it's a man going out to meet a prostitute. Not that it's a married man or anything like that. It's just a man engaging with a prostitute.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And he's innocent, and he just can't.
He's innocent.
He can't help himself because of this wily woman. It's not his fault that he doesn't have any wisdom.
It was the fact that her couch was decked out with Egyptian linen. I think that's what drew him in.
And she had eyelashes. Yeah.
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 Darn eyelashes.
So
Very interesting.
The only thing I would say, and this isn't even in anything, it's just something I've noticed, is that it says in the twilight, when he would not be seen in the evening of the day and the darkness of night. So he kind of knows that he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing. Or as I have always been told, nothing good ever happens after midnight. So, you know, the fact that you're out under in the darkness at a time of night when nobody else is out, you know you're doing something you should.
Mhm. Yeah. That's good.
here's a note here that says, a seduction by the loose woman is described in narrative form. It is not clear whether the woman is a prostitute or simply dressed as one. Since she is married, the act is clearly one of adultery. Well, that's not interesting.
Well, she does. Oh, yeah. She says, my husband is not at home.
And, you know, remember in Paul's epistles, he would say, do you not know when you bind yourself to a prostitute, you become one? So, I mean, whether the man was married or not doesn't matter. It's that he's going to a prostitute, which is the wrong path.
Prostitution implies a commercial transaction.
Right.
Yeah. and I don't see that here particularly.
So in this sense, and I'm guessing this is setting us up for this, the man in question here seems to be seeking the woman. Whereas the point is we should be seeking the other woman, which is wisdom. We should be seeking wisdom. We shouldn't be seeking the harlot, right?
Yeah.
Because now chapter 8 is the chapter that we're always referred to when we talk about wisdom as a human female. It always goes to 8. So it's a perfect setting after this with the man meeting the prostitute in the dark of night, and all this is bad. And then 8 will come out with, does not wisdom call? Why aren't you hearing that call? Why aren't you, when you're walking to your car late at night, saying to the woman who's standing there asking you to come up for a beer, no thanks?
Yes. Yeah. So, I wonder if there's like worldly wisdom and then spiritual wisdom. The King James Version uses the word no, meaning to have sexual intercourse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's a kind of knowledge.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And so you have the woman being worldly wisdom that.
Bill, what translation did you read from?
This is a Revised Standard Version published in 1952 or something.
Yeah.
That was going to be my guess. It was the RSV. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a book that was given to me at my baptism in 1957.
And to me, that's go ahead.
No, we were just laughing about it.
That's the version I remember growing up, because the church, that was the official version the church used until about 1990. when they switched to the NRSV. So as a kid, I remember hearing the RSV growing up, as opposed to the previous generation, which grew up with the King James, most likely.
Yes.
All right, so that being said, who would like to take 8 as we now delve back into wisdom?
I'll do that.
Okay.
It sounds more positive. Does not wisdom call, and does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads she takes her stand. Beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals, she cries out, "To you, O people, I call, and my cry is to all that live. O simple ones, learn prudence, acquire intelligence. You who lack it, hear, for I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come what is right, for my mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous. There is nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to one who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. I, wisdom, live with prudence, and I attain knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the weight of evil and perverted speech I hate. I have good advice and sound wisdom. I have insight. I have strength. Be my king's reign, and rulers decree what is just. By me rulers rule, and nobles all who govern rightly. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and prosperity. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, along the paths of justice, endowing with wealth those who love me and filling their treasures. The Lord created me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of long ago. Ages ago, I was set up at the first, before the beginning of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water. Before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills, I was brought forth. When he had not yet made earth and fields, or the world's first bits of soil. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep. When he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limits, so that the waters might not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him like a master worker, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world and delighting in the human race. And now, my children, listen to me. Happy are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it. Happy is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favors from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death.
All right, thank you.
So this is somehow equating wisdom as being established at the same time God created everything.
Right.
I was there.
Right, and go ahead.
No, it's hard for me to think of anything prior to God establishing Earth, the universe, whatever, life.
Well, there's, when wisdom is also compared to the Holy Spirit, and there is the creation, the story of creation, that when the earth was void, that the Holy Spirit went out over the over the void to help create the earth. So that, in that sense, that would be, I think, wisdom as the spirit. Yeah. But I wondered, Bill, I was going to ask you, you've got the RSV there, how it reads in verse, hang on, let me find it. Verse 11.
Verse 11, for wisdom is better than jewels.
It does say
and all
jewels.
And all that you may desire cannot compare with her.
I've heard a line, maybe it's in the King James, where it would say, for wisdom is better than rubies. It specifies the jewel.
I'm
I don't know if there, let's see if there's a note here.
I've got a paraphrase, the Living Bible, and it has rubies mentioned in it.
It has ruby, yeah. I think that's just an interchanged thing, yeah.
For the value of wisdom is far above rubies. Nothing can be compared with it. So.
I like the lines, and this is where obviously Solomon really figures in, you know, by me, by wisdom, kings reign and rulers decree what is just. By me, rulers rule and nobles, all who govern rightly. Certainly attributes of Solomon and all of his wisdom.
So this is how Rashi, sorry, I'm just thinking here. This is exactly how Rashi says that the harlot and the wife and all of that is Torah, is from this passage.
Okay.
Because it is that Torah was created before the creation of the world.
Okay. I mean, I guess that would make sense. If God gives the law would have already been created in God's mind. And you know that last, or not the last verse, but verse 32 there. And now my children, listen to me. Happy are those who keep my ways. Makes me also think of Psalms, which is also part of wisdom. You know, happy are they who walk in the way of the Lord and do not walk in the counsel of the wicked, you know, et cetera, et cetera. The paths of righteousness, all of that. And I like the idea that, well, I don't like this idea, but it makes me think in verse 31, rejoicing in his inhabited world and delighting in the human race. The idea that wisdom is always delights in the human race, yet the human race does not always delight in wisdom. That's not something to like, but that's kind of the way of the world, isn't it? If we seek wisdom, wisdom will be happy to allow us to find her, but we have to seek her and desire her. And unfortunately, there's too many worldly things that stand in the way of us doing that, whatever that may be. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take chapter 9 because it's short. You know, you have to listen to me all the time. You don't have to listen to me too long on this. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her animals. She has mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her servant girls. She calls from the highest places in the town. You that are simple, turn in here. To those without sense, she says, Come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine I have mixed. Lay aside immaturity and live, and walk in the way of insight. Whoever corrects a scoffer wins abuse. Whoever rebukes the wicked gets hurt. A scoffer who is rebuked will only hate you. The wise, when rebuked, will love you. Give instruction to the wise, and they will become wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will gain in learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you alone will bear it. The foolish woman is loud. She is ignorant and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house on a seat at the high places of the town, calling to those who pass by, who are going straight on their way. You who are simple, turn in here. And to those without sense, she says, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But they do not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. So now we really get that, putting the wisdom against the foolish woman, right? Which has kind of been happening already, but now it's really laid out. A note here that says the tension between invitations to a banquet given by wisdom and one given by the foolish woman is developed here with a section of aphorisms contrasting scoffers with the wise, dividing the two calls. I guess the scoffers choose the foolish woman and the wise choose wisdom, maybe? I don't know.
Probably.
The wise become wiser, and the righteous gain.
I'm sorry, Andy, what was the question you asked?
I didn't have a, I said now it's just really laid out, that comparison between wisdom and the foolish woman. And so my question was, I guess what the note I was reading is saying is that the wise choose wisdom and the scoffers choose the foolish woman, the invitation of the foolish woman. Because to try to correct the scoffer is only going to get you in more trouble, but to try to correct to the wise, they will say, oh, yes, and they will become wiser. That in other words, your professor who grades your dissertation is going to tell you you're wrong, and it's going to make you wiser when you realize why you were wrong. Or how you could say that in a better way.
Or when you correct your professor, he'll be wiser.
Yeah, you hope. He'll be wiser and your grade will be poorer.
Be lower.
Stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Makes me think of a Lenten discipline that, you give up something for Lent, but you hide in the closet when you find it and eat it in secret so no one knows that you're actually eating it.
Giving stuff up for Lent never caught on with me very well.
I give up giving up things for Lent. No. Well, I want to see if there was a note here about the beginning of this part.
So something really interesting about that I found is Rashi says that and this is a quote here, the savoriness of relations with a virgin is incomparable with that of a woman who has already had sexual relations. And then it goes on to say the tastiness of doing something forbidden is unparalleled with that of something permitted.
Mm. Yeah. Well, there's your two paths right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now we will shift a little bit as we go into chapter 10. This starts basically a new section of Proverbs, if you remember. So now 10 even starts out by saying the Proverbs of Solomon. And we leave sort of these things of good and bad. So going back to the intro, chapters 1 through 9, Proverbs presents itself as a handbook of the experience of others designed to offer insight and guidance to any, but especially the young who seek its advice. And then 10 starts a new section. So if I know we're slightly early, we're at 7:52, but I think it's a good stopping place as we finished up that first section of the lessons, the teachings. And if it's particularly to the young, that makes a lot more sense with the language seem to be geared towards the young. You know, you're young enough now, don't make these mistakes now, because it will only come back to haunt you later. So let's pick up starting with 10 next week, if that works for everybody.